trying to get ahead with that extra month if possible.
I guess my concern is if you tack it on to the end of a meeting that's already very long, and then people are rushing, and they're, it gets late, and, are we defeating the purpose of, we're gonna rush it through, and then it might not be right. That's my concern.
I mean, it could go first, but you're right, something ends up being last if we do that.
Turn your We'll put facilities last.
Turn your mics on.
Well,
My other concern is that, yes, certainly you can send us an email and review it, but we can't really have any discussion, not public, correct?
Right, but maybe if, I'm just thinking, if you didn't state your concerns, but you said, yeah, as this is, I have issues and I want to discuss it further, and then maybe you could say, well, 7 of the 9 people said they want to discuss it further. You don't have to say what you want to discuss, go into detail, but you could at least know who's concerned about it. Is that legit? Is that okay?
What do you think, Doctor? I mean, you had the discussion, who did you have the discussion with, Dr. Radigan or Peter?
Dr. Radigan and Dr. LeVar, we talked about this on Tuesday. Really, with just the main goal being not waiting until March to do a second.
I'm a little concerned about waiting until March,
Yeah,
I have to say.
That's a long time.
Well, now, and the other thing is that special board meeting on the 2nd is, it's supposed to be itself pretty short, isn't it?
personnel.
Because it's just a couple quick, so maybe it won't.
Well, they always tag on, always.
What's short becomes long.
Well,
What is short becomes less short, but there's usually only a few items.
Okay.
Do we have executive that night too, was that a meeting?
It wasn't,
So are we going to talk about the personnel that's following it? Oh,
I don't know. What?
why don't talk to Bryce, why don't you go back and hash this out and come back, we're not going to come up with a
if-
decision tonight.
I found what Ada was talking about, if you want to look at it. It was number 4, just above athletic volunteers.
But it says it
Number
twice.
In the middle of that?
Page 3.
But it says
I'm
it
sorry,
twice.
page 3.
Page 3.
It says the names of these individuals will be reported to the Board of School Directors by the superintendent at the next board meeting after superintendent approval is given. That's what it says.
But
I just seen this policy twice, so it's referenced twice.
Okay.
I'm not sure in what context. I just wrote down a little note.
And one last thing, Ada, not to regress, but right above that section, SC 1418, Title 28, Section 23.44, says right on there, tuberculosis test, and by the advisory health board.
I know. We know.
So, it's right there.
It's right.
I see it. It's a discussion that I'd like to entertain with regarding who it applies to. Because if you read that code very specifically, it's very specific. The volunteers having direct contact, okay? Not all our volunteers have direct contact.
I was just pointing out where it was, that's all.
I've read it repeatedly.
Just informational, more informational, Bill, don't kill the messenger.
Again, this is Roslyn, we pay our solicitor, and this is his interpretation.
All right, any more
Questions before I send it to the public?
You have number 3?
No, that was number 3, wasn't it?
No. The number
No, information only.
Oh, we got it. Oh, there you go. Troy, you want to take that?
Sure, the last item is policy 819. The policy itself was already approved in December, on December 1st, but there is a number change, and so really information on that, instead of being policy 819, the new number will be policy 826, and that's the suicide awareness, prevention, and response policy.
Does that just change, or do we have to, is that a vote?
I think it's just informational.
It would, it does need to be board approved.
Oh,
on
it does?
January 25th.
It will be.
Yeah, the number change does need to be.
Okay. Even though it says information only, okay.
In fact, and then information for the committee.
For tonight, okay.
And then we actually will tag that policy, once it's board approved, onto our GCN network, the training that the teachers use. And beginning that week, support staff, and then shortly after that, professional staff members are going to start taking that online course. The course is about 2 hours, and then there's a tutorial that kind of summarizes highlights of the course. That's another maybe 15 to 17 minutes. They're going to be required to do both modules, and that policy will be attached to that. They'll see the policy as well as receive the training. That's going to happen. The requirements don't end at the end of this year, but we certainly want to jump on that as soon as possible. So based on in-service time we have, some groups will be able to do it earlier than others, but the goal is that by the end of the year, we have most staff trained in that GCN course, the suicide awareness policy.
Okay, anything else from board members? Mr. Linden, Mrs. Furlong, any questions, comments?
Yes.
Could you please state your name?
You better not.
Mrs. Furlong, could you please state your name?
I'll see if I can turn my microphone.
I have not seen the text, of course, of what you all are discussing, but I do see Furlong, West Rocco Township. I do have some suggestions. I think that every email emanating from a Pennridge staff member, volunteer, coach, board member, or student, or anybody involved, if they're conducting any kind of business connected with Pennridge School District, should have a Pennridge email address and conduct 100% of their business professionally on the provided email address. I believe that the board members, I know when I served, I had a personal email address because it was not provided, and some people used their work email. So if you need to email somebody on a Saturday, you thought, well, will that person be checking their work emails or not? Every one of you all should have a Pennridge email address, and 100% of all your communications conducting the Pennridge business should be across that Pennridge email address. Nothing personal. I think that every email between an adult at Pennridge and a student should automatically be carbon copied to maybe information at and then the building in which they work. You wouldn't want to go to the principal unless they happen to have a special email for that type of thing, but something so that it is available to a second party. And then there's no question as to tampering and that type of thing. You should tell them that there's no expectation of privacy. I would suggest that you give every student in the district a Pennridge email account. That's not that hard. Once you do it, it's done. And then you just do the incoming students. Universities have it with 25,000 students. We've got 7,000. Every student, when they communicate with an adult at Pennridge, should be using not a personal account, but their Pennridge account, with no expectation of privacy. You mentioned this thing called Canvas. I'm not familiar with it, but my suggestion was to see if the school could set up something for the building, for the teacher, for the program, for the art class, the music program, whatever it is, where it is legitimate, but it is under the control of Pennridge, and they can communicate that way. Nothing on the outside. To my knowledge, again, I don't know what's in front of you. Who is responsible for oversight? Is it just a promise and a wish that everybody, you need somebody just occasionally doing a quality control check on the outside emails. I would put the rules about one-on-one communications with the emails in the student handbook. This is a two-way conversation. It's not just the adults that need to follow the rules. It's also our students. It should be in their student handbook. Their parents should understand that there are rules, and that if they communicate with a teacher, it should be on a Pennridge email address. Send a notice to all the parents. This is what is acceptable in terms of communication between your child and our adults. And if you see any kind of communication channels above and beyond what we just described to you, please contact us. It is not appropriate.
Mrs. Furlong, we do have another meeting behind this.
I'm almost done here, I got one more thing. I don't like the idea of rushing second readings. The reason for them being spaced out is to give the public time to have input. I would think that the parents and the students and the staff may want to have some input on this. So when you rush it, one of the main purposes, I mean, quite frankly, you could have a second reading tomorrow night, what would that get you? The purpose of the spacing of the readings is so that everybody has input that's a party to it. What you could do if you're in a rush is to break this into bite-sized pieces and do the real critical ones first. And say to be continued part 2, 3, and 4. But don't rush it just to rush it and get it wrong and not have input. Thank you.
Okay. Meeting adjourned.
Okay, so I am going to call to order the Activities Committee meeting, and we just have one agenda item, which is the 16-17 calendar. So before we discuss, perhaps Dr. Price, you could give an overview of the calendar.
Sure, thank you. So the 16-17 calendar